Hey guys, welcome back to the Great Ancestor Chronicles. Let's carry on where we left off. Furlock and I just completed our Dance of Deduction, featuring a cameo with Susato Mikotoba. Of course, we may have made the Garadebs jealous, considering they encountered a bit of domestics last night, Mr. Garadeb having evidence in the form of a palm-shaped slap mark on his cheeks over a misunderstanding. A bookmark in his book featuring some lustful lips, I might add, addressed to James, although his name is John. It's these dashed long winter nights, you know. Nothing to do but read in front of the fire. Luckily, there's a jolly good second-hand bookshop just around the corner. Buy all my old novels there. Although, we've seen Mr. Soseki's apartment. He has got a metric ton of books down below. I'm sure he wouldn't mind you borrowing some in exchange for, you know, not testifying tomorrow to the fact that he may have attempted murder. And in the pages of one particular novel, you discovered some rather illicit material? And we're not talking about a porno bag, although I don't know if those existed in the early 20th century. For which your wife admonished you harshly, it seems. Don't know about admonished. Demolished might be rather closer to the mark. Hey, at least you didn't get a Susato takedown into the fire over there. Your face could have been half burned off. You'd been two-faced. And Beast is a rather apt... Oh, here we go again. And the carpet? Was that destroyed by fire when a candle fell on the floor? Or were we right in the first instance in that the Beast ended up chewing the rug? Afraid to say it was. Happened in the blink of an eye, you know. Fire spreads fast, man. The whole place was filled with smoke. Couldn't see a bally thing. Ah, well, thank you for giving me the statement I need to refute your testimony tomorrow. I was caught between the old stick's rage and the raging flames. Couldn't tell which is hotter or more dangerous. You paint a torrid picture, sir. One that would have been most entertaining. That's sympathy for you. Definitely should write a book out of it. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. The bally furniture started going up as well. We've had to hide the mess behind that screen for the time being. I thought that might be the case. You can also see the floor is a bit darker there. There's some soot on the floor. Over here, Mr. Garadeb. Well, you have nothing more to hide now, if you'll allow me. What's behind there? Hopefully not a body, a cremated corpse. Oh my. But all my favorite old novels in that case. But as soon as the fire got hold of them, that was it. Whoosh. Up in smoke. Like my love for Mrs. Garadeb, Joan. Gosh. Then the wife started hurling things at me. At least she didn't hurl the shell or fire the cannon at you. What a terrible sight it must have been. There was I, back up against the window under heavy enemy fire. Incendiary books, incoming 10 to the dozen. Worst of it is, I lost my favorite. A book called The Lion's Pride. The Lion's Pride. Ah, yes, your notorious love of big cats come through again. No wonder you were so misled. Great Detective Sholmes. I assure you the title didn't influence my choice in the slightest. He did say his back was to the window as well. Not only was his back to the window, smoke had filled the room. There's no way he's a witness. So the poor man really did lose something dear to him as a result of the ferocious beast's rampage. Mr. Sholmes' deductions turned out to be correct once again. Half correct. Okay, Susato, let's give him a 6 out of 10. Just because he passed doesn't mean he passed with exemplary results. It can only be described as a great British wonder. The snarkiness, the sarcasm. I love it. Ryunosuke is me. Nervous as hell when it comes to performing under pressure, but god damn if he doesn't have a snarky line or two. I tell you, it was total carnage. Flames everywhere and that old stick in full fettle. Out of interest, what time of day was that? Not sure I can remember. It was 2 days ago now. Let's see. Around 5 o'clock, I think. So at exactly the same time, as a terrifying incident was unfolding outside your window on the street below. What is this, like the Bermuda Street instead of Briar Street? Like, was just calamity destined to strike this particular intersection that night? Even more terrifying on the inside, I can assure you. You were under fire, after all. The whole of Blighty could have been flattened outside my window at that moment. And I wouldn't have noticed a dashed thing.
Oh, really?
Really, really? Didn't someone get burned up in a carriage a couple of days ago? Yesterday, in fact. Well, Joan, nice to see your name's been replaced. From maid. Well, great Detective Sholmes? Up, Mr. Sholmes? Yes, Mr. Naruhodo. What can I do for you? Well, I think we've got to the bottom of Mr. Garadeb's situation now. But what does it have to do with Mr. Natsume's circumstances? I can't help you there, I'm afraid. What? I'm not a lawyer. I can't tell you how to cross-examine your witnesses. My dear fellow, if you recall, I did say as much from the outset. I warned you that although I knew the retired army man to be hiding something, I could not be sure whether his secret would prove to be of relevance or not. He did say that. And we did say that finding the truth was a good thing, even if it was the most innocuous of circumstances. So, joke's on us, Ryunosuke. I just knew you were going to say that. Now, Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't lose heart. Bear in mind that all things fall into one of only two categories. Those relevant to the case and those not. That makes no sense to me. English, not my first language. Although that's not the problem in this case. Well, no matter. It is of far greater importance that you make up your mind now. Sorry? Visiting hours at the prison will soon be over. I need to decide if I'm taking up Mr. Saseki's case. Mr. Natsume's case, I should say. Oh no. Is it that time already? If we're to accept Mr. Natsume's case, we have official paperwork to attend to. Yes. So that's it. No more time to think. I gotta make a decision right now. I came here to study law. I mean, shit, man. How am I supposed to afford these expensive hotels? Perhaps you'd like to betake yourselves to bidding us farewell now? Seriously, get the hell out of my house. You've done enough damage. I must prepare supper for Mr. Garadeb. Oh, yes. I'm so sorry. You mind if we get something to go? Like a garlic bread or something? Thank you very much for your time. Saseki-san will be waiting for us. And I'm going to have to give him an answer. And, you know, crumpets would be nice as well. No? Okay, let's get out of here. Actually, before we do, let's examine the burn site. Just curious. What a miserable sight. Oh dear. But at least the whole room wasn't engulfed in flames. Yeah, for better or for worse. I suppose so. But my whole collection went up in smoke, you know. All those novels I adored so much. If only that novel with the illicit note had gotten burned up as well. Well, John, whose fault is that? Not mine, that's for sure. Well, whoever may or may not be to blame. I'm quite sure you can buy some new old books to replace them, can't you? New old books? Bolly nonsense, you clearly don't read. That's an oxymoron, woman. It does sound like a contradiction in terms, but then these two are full of contradictions. That's couples for you, Mr. Naruhodo. Or so I've been led to believe. That's what my blue book says. My Wikipedia, if you will. Alright, well, let's get out of here. Let's let them enjoy romantic times together. We're heading back to... not Mr. Natsume's room. That's his old room. His new room's in the prison. Or we can just go out onto the street. 19th of February, Briar Road. It's time, Mr. Naruhodo. We must hurry back to the prison. I was on my way, but apparently you dragged me out here to the street for some reason. I was ready to just teleport there. Yes, I know. Let's hail a car... Oh, police have cleared out. It's time we investigate the crime scene, huh? Of course. What's the matter? Looks like something's going on over there in front of the Garadeb's house. Huh? What is going on over there? Oh my! I know thee not, old man. Fall to thy prayers. What are you calling an old man, you rum-looking nimny-pidney? God, who are these guys? Where'd they come from? More voices. There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than art dreamt of in your philosophy. Who's this Horatio fella, eh? What are you on about? Clearly he's an uncultured man. Excuse me. Oh, what the? Who are you now? Sorry, it just looked as though there might be some problem here. I'm ready to take down anyone who's causing trouble. My associate here, Mr. Ryunosuke Naruhodo, is a lawyer, you see. I'm your associate now? Okay. A lawyer? What? If I could be of any assistance, I'd be happy to help. I'm from Japan, but I have studied English law, so I'm more than qualified to handle the civil dispute. Fine. I'll be on me way for today, but you mark my words. This ain't over yet.
Get thee to a nunnery.
Do I look like a bloomin' nun to you? What's happening? What's your involvement? I don't like it.
This guy seems too much. I do hope you're not injured. Oh, fair Eastern maiden, thou art so gentle. Thank you.
What was that all about?
There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy.
I'm not Horatio either.
Forgive the inquiry, sir, but are you a lodger here, in the Garrett residence? Oh, fair Eastern maiden, thou art so right. Yes, I do dwell in this humble abode.
Mr. Garrett mentioned that he had another lodger, didn't he? This must be the man. Lodger, more like Dodger. This guy's suspicious as hell. Do you happen to know the other lodger who lives on the first floor?
Ah, yes, a gentleman named Natsume.
Oh, more worthy a polemist in my battle of words, never could there be. I need to settle on a voice for this guy. He's just got this flamboyant look to him, but I can't provide a flamboyant voice. It's in a British accent. It's tough, man. Especially trying to come up with it on the fly. I just click like Von Karma, I don't know why. Sorry, battle did you say?
Who is the stronger, Hamlet or Macbeth?
Mr. Natsume and I sparred long into the night. Well, I mean, Hamlet was a very determined man. Macbeth kind of just went along the whims of his wife. I don't know if he had any autonomy, though it has been a while since I've read either. Over 12 years, in fact, so there you go. I kind of got out of Shakespeare as soon as I could. You know, unpopular opinion, maybe? I think he's overrated. I see. The fact that we still need to study it now, like surely we've got better things to read.
I don't fully understand, but it seems Mr. Natsume and this gentleman are acquaintances at least. So, fair maiden, so good gentleman, I can tarry here no longer. Fare thee well.
Alright, catch you later.
I didn't really understand him, but I think he's returned to his room.
Seems he's unaware of what's happened to Mr. Natsume, so he can't really help us. With Soseki-san and that man as lodgers, the Garrett house is certainly full of eccentrics. It's like a circus in there. Anyway, I'll go and find a carriage.
Yes, I'm sure Mr. Natsume is eagerly awaiting our return.
Let's hope we can get to the prison before visiting hours are over. And then hopefully we can come back here and investigate the crime scene. Though I'm not sure if that's going to be the case. We did just have a chapter break earlier, so I'm hoping there's more to it than just visiting Mr. Natsume in prison. Poor guy, still looking paranoid as hell. You alright? Anything to say?
Oh, it's you, you're here, he came. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. I can't believe you came back, I'm so touched.
I hope you haven't been touched in prison. I hope you're okay. We came before visiting hours were over. I don't know what time that is. It's 6:30 right now. Hopefully it's 7.
We're so sorry to have kept you waiting, Mr. Natsume. Oh no, think nothing of it. Relax. If I were a cat, I would purr with pleasure at the company of such fine compatriots. Noble, nurturing, never failing Nipponese.
Oh, now, let's not get carried away. Oh, I quite agree. There is nothing more reassuring than the familiarity of one's native land. On the other hand, it is through friendship transcending international borders that one truly appreciates the fact. I thought it was going to be Van Zieks, so I quickly made the call for that voice, but hey, maybe Sholmes was just pretending to be Dracula in a dungeon. Such is my belief, at least.
Oh, yes. It's you! The miserable, rotten spy, Herlock Sholmes!
And he just does his pose as he's announced, like he's some sort of wrestler about to enter the ring. Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing here? Were you, like, under our carriage or something? I have no intention of doing anything per se, save observing, of course.
Whatever do you mean, Mr. Sholmes?
I don't think there's enough room in here for another dance of deduction, so please. Well, having encountered some curious reading material in that gloomful room, and having unmasked the secret identity of that eccentric pair, I decided I should drop in on my way home to see how our divested friend is faring.
Gloomful room?
At least your accommodation here offers a window, my dear fellow. In that sense, it is the superior option. I don't even think you can look out the window, look how high it is. Anyway, I must commend you on your taste in books. My day has been a delight, and cost me not a penny. Hope you didn't steal any.
Ah! You! How dare you, Herlock Sholmes!
Oh my god, he looks like he's gone into Kiryu's beast mode from Yakuza. He's gonna tear the walls down. The walls of Jericho are gonna collapse.
I've had it. I'm through. I'm at the end of my rope. I should never have come to Great Britain. It was a terrible mistake. Haunted by spirits in those accursed lodgings. No doubt my luck will be cursed at tomorrow's trial as well.
Hey, don't say that. Don't curse me. Although we are dealing with a cursed man already in the opposition. He's at the prosecutor's bench.
My whole life is be damned.
Sato, what are you looking at me for?
What are you thinking, Mr. Naruhodo?
I don't know, I was just looking at my reflection and his pearly white teeth glowing through the window. He mentioned that once before, didn't he? That his lodgings were cursed, I mean. And there is much truth in Mr. Mustache's words. What? Who's Mr. Mustache? Cursed is a wholly appropriate description, I would say, for the man's lodgings, and indeed for tomorrow's trial. What's that supposed to mean? Please, enlighten me. First about the cursed lodgings. When you said accursed lodgings before, you were referring to your room at Mr. Garridub's house, I assume. Do you mean to say you believe the place is cursed?
It's been a year now since I came to Great Britain. But I'd only been in London a week before I started to notice strange feelings in myself.
That didn't take long then.
Everywhere I looked, there were foreign faces staring at me, laughing behind my back. I was sure people were talking about me. I started to become nervous about going outside. They were always staring at me, all the time, from dawn till dusk.
I suppose, you know, he felt like an alien, right? He's from across the world in a town. You know, this early days, Japan's just opened its borders. People probably weren't used to seeing Japanese men in their homeland, you know? So he probably felt paranoid, isolated.
So I shut myself away in my room. But even that didn't help. The fear wouldn't go away.
No, that would just fester it even more. You'd isolate yourself further. Stuck in your research, your books.
You must have been very lonely, having been away from your homeland for such a long time. I've had to move a number of times. Most recently to that room on Briar Road a week ago now.
Yes, why did you choose there? It seems a little inconvenient.
The rent is cheap. I have so little money it appealed to me straight away.
I guess it's also because there's a second-hand bookshop around the corner as well.
Of course, I asked why it was so affordable. The landlord just simpered and said, "The room is cursed." Oops.
That's a great way to advertise it.
He quickly tried to cover his mistake, but it was too late. So I told him, if you have something to say, then say it. But if not, don't mention it in the first place.
Yes. Well said.
But it was true. It was all true.
You mean the room really is cursed then?
Ever since I moved into that windowless hellhole. My sleep has been plagued with nightmares. I awake feeling as though I'm being choked to death. And in my waking hours, people are stabbed in front of me as I walk down the street. I'm branded a killer, thrown in prison. Nobody wants to know me. I'm surrounded by scary, sinister spirits.
Damn, he's really losing it.
If only there was someone, just one person on my side. Can no one find it in his or her heart to believe in me? Really no one at all.
To believe? Or not to believe. Yes, to believe. To believe. Okay, first let's talk about the cursed trial. Mr. Natsume, what did you mean by what you said just now? About the trial tomorrow being cursed?
Oh no. Why are you looking so grave? You're making me nervous. I was just getting carried away, that's all. I didn't mean anything by it.
Oh, I see. That's really agitated him.
You don't mean the trial really is cursed somehow?
Shums, don't say it. Are you referring to the prosecutor? The Reaper of the Bailey?
The Reaper? Oh no, what do you mean? Please tell me. Summarize it succinctly in 16 salient words.
No defendant has ever survived a trial in which the Reaper stands for the prosecution. Ever. There we go. Is that 16 words? 4, 8, 12, 16.
Oh my goodness! Can it really be true? That was 16 words exactly! Yesterday, Mr. Naruhodo successfully defended someone against the Reaper. But then, after the trial was over, hell came and got him directly. Set his carriage ablaze. The defendant passed away in unusual circumstances.
Mr. McGilded.
What?
Yeah. I am impressed, Mr. Sato. You have an eye for detail.
Actually, the Lord Chief Justice told us.
Mr. Sholmes, surely it can't be that having failed to have the accused convicted, Lord Van Zieks killed the man himself.
Oh no, he couldn't have, surely.
You have some wonderful notions. Sorry? The man isn't a mass murderer, he's a court prosecutor, my dear fellow.
Oh, yes. Why, of course he is.
He doesn't mass kill, he just kills every now and then. That's why he took a big break.
Ah, of course he is. Then why are you trying to scare me?
It could be said, however, that the real truth about the man is even more terrifying than your hypothesis. Oh? What on earth do you mean by that? I have to say, I'm really curious about Lord Van Zieks. He's got a certain mystique about him. I feel like it's been a while since we've had that. I mean, I love Black Quill as well. I guess I just really like the edgy boys, don't I? But then, see, I've completely erased Spirit of Justice from my mind. I forgot what the prosecutor's name was in that game. I remembered it started with N. It's Na Utah. I had to Google it. See, like, I don't really feel anything with him, but Lord Van Zieks, you know, the guy he just oozes an aura, you know, that I want to know more about him. Especially this gimmick of how none of the people he's prosecuting ever escape death. It's just, you know, it's cheesy as hell, but goddamn, it hasn't got me hooked. The Reaper. Van Zieks is quite an exceptional man. However, in London courts of law, exceptional does not equate to winning every case without exception.
Oh, that's good.
Soseki-san looks like he's going to cry tears of joy. As you are no doubt aware, in a British criminal trial, there's both a judge and a jury. The judge officiates based on the letter of the law, whilst the jury offers public opinion and common sense. It is an excellent system, whereby the defendant's guilt is considered from several points of view. However, public opinion, in particular, is somewhat easily manipulated.
Right.
Yeah, it was so easy for me to turn everyone against each other when we had 6 guilty verdicts last time. Criminals, and corrupt lawyers for that matter, can use it to their advantage. By any means at their disposal, contriving evidence, calling imposters as witnesses, and so on. By such underhand means, those who would want to are able to sway the jury. Which means that even in the light of irrefutable evidence, the prosecution can fail. Yeah, I mean, like, you see sometimes in movies when they do jury selection, and you know, the people involved with the case get to decide who gets on the jury, and they can veto someone, for instance. And sometimes it's, I mean, if you've seen Runaway Jury, where you see them as analyzing everything about the jurors' profiles, their backgrounds, what kind of verdict would they sway to, can they risk putting them on the jury, and so on and so forth. Will it help their case? I mean, jeez, just the tactics required just to secure a win. You know, it really puts into light what Sholmes is saying here about how the jury can be swayed. It can be swayed from the very beginning during the selection process.
But it means the wrong verdict can be passed.
And sadly is from time to time, my dear madam. It is simply the reality of the situation. It is. I mean, unless we somehow come up with a effective truth serum, what are you gonna do? And that's alright. However, those indicted by Lord Van Zieks cannot escape justice. Their fate is sealed.
Oh my.
Though the adjudication may see them leave the courtroom with their freedom, within months, they all disappear. It is most striking.
Disappear? But how?
Ah, by all manner of misfortune, sir. Perhaps they are trampled under a passing carriage. Perhaps they fall into the Thames and drown. Jeez. The accidental deaths. Perhaps they are suddenly overcome by a raging fever. Or perhaps attacked by highwaymen.
Oh, no, no, no.
All examples of the reality of events here in London, I'm afraid, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh. I see.
I knew it. I'm a dead dodo done for doomed.
There really is no hope to believe. Mr. Sholmes. Ah, me, Mr. Naruhodo. Pray, what can I do for you? It's about the case on the SS Buria, if you recall. The Buria. The Buria. Ah, that case. The one with the snake. Well, yes, there was a snake involved, though that was hardly the main attraction of it. At that time, I was the suspect. But you believed in me and listened to my side of the story. And you helped us to investigate. I did I? Interesting. What I want to know is, why? Why did you believe in me? I see, yes. You mean, because you were a grimly dressed, shady Eastern fellow found with a victim in a locked room? Well, if you like, yes. I'm a little surprised that the answer requires explanation, my dear fellow. It's quite simple, really. You said I didn't do it. Oh, okay. There you go, and they deduced it from there. But I could have been lying. Surely you must have had your doubts. You must have suspected me a little. Just a tiny bit. A modicum of suspicion. I think perhaps you have misunderstood. I neither recalled believing in you, nor in that which you were telling me. What? You see, the only things I believe in are those I choose to believe in. Right.
What? What do you mean, Mr. Sholmes? Please enlighten me. Enlighten us all.
I make up my own mind about what is to be believed and what is not. If I should like to believe in something, I do. The circumstances can hang as far as I'm concerned. But I could have betrayed your trust. In that case, I should have made an elementary error of judgment. Nothing more. Betrayal of trust is an overused excuse, in my opinion. Meaning? Whether or not one should trust another is, in the final analysis, down to oneself. It is a matter of whether or not one can trust oneself.
Yes, he's right. He's right, locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire.
Whether or not I can believe myself. Can we believe ourselves? A defense lawyer is only as good as his faith in his client. Kazuma. His soul is speaking to me, right here on my hip. And that comes down to how much faith he has in himself. Gotcha. You were so right, Kazuma. Whew. Well, we're gonna get kicked out of here soon. Well, my dear fellows, it is time we were leaving, I believe.
Already?
Visiting hours are over. The guard will be here shortly to escort us out. There's a restaurant near here that serves excellent trout. Would you care to join me? We don't have any money.
I can't really. I'm stuck in prison. And I wouldn't like dinner with you anyway. You're the one who pointed the finger at me. I have to stop saying fingered me. Oh dear, there's never enough time, is there?
You're gonna be okay. It's just one night. We'll see you in court tomorrow. Hopefully the cell isn't cursed. Mr. Natsume, if you'd like, in the trial tomorrow, I'd be happy to represent you. There we go. Alright, our theme.
Locum student Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire.
As I said, I only experienced a British courtroom for the first time yesterday. And although the man I was representing was found not guilty, I lost sight of something crucial.
Something crucial?
What to believe in. The defendant, justice, or the truth. How to believe, even. But I think I've finally worked it out. I've decided that I must believe in myself above all else. To trust my instincts.
Yes, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, Mr. Naruhodo! And my instincts are telling me that you, Mr. Natsume, are innocent of this crime. And it's imperative that we prove that in court.
Locum student Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire.
I will fight for your innocence until the bitter end, with every weapon available to me. So I hope you permit me to represent you tomorrow.
As I said when we first met,
Oh my god, he's not twitching for once. He's standing with confidence.
I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who will listen to me in my native tongue.
Of course, Mr. Natsume. Okay, I think we've alleviated some of his anxiety, which is good. Sato's smiling. Can't tell what Herlock Sholmes is feeling, though. It would be fair to say, Mr. Naruhodo, that your mind was in many ways made up from the outset. You merely needed the events of today to fully realize it.
Yes, I think you're right about that.
It's been a roundabout journey, but I got there in the end. Thank you for your sacrifice, Mr. Garrett. Mrs. Sato?
Yes?
Would you be willing to stand by my side tomorrow and help me in court?
Absolutely.
Oh god, I love these two. I love this cast. I can't deny, man. This is great. It's been so long since I played Ace Attorney, and I'm so glad I got to play the great Ace Attorney. I'll admit, I saw it around. I saw there was a fan translation. I was like, you know, I was kind of put off by Spirit of Justice. I'll be honest. And then I got into Danganronpa, and I got really into Danganronpa because of the high stakes nature of it all, and so on and so forth. That I started kind of peeling away from Ace Attorney, but man, I forgot what I love about Ace Attorney the most. It's the characters, you know? They're just great. It's just great fun. And there's nothing more satisfying than proving your client innocent. You know, Danganronpa has the great feeling of finding the suspect guilty. Ace Attorney has also finding the suspect guilty, but it also has the satisfaction of believing your client, defending them. They're helpless. They've got nowhere else to go. You're their only line of defense, and you pull through. That feeling is just so good, and I'm looking forward to having that appear here. We kind of missed out on it with Mr. McGilded because the guy was shady as fuck, but hopefully, I mean, surely Mr. Natsume's innocent. Like, 100%. I mean, we believe in him, right?
As I said this morning, you may consider me your personal judicial assistant.
Alright, let's get this done. The shocking events of yesterday's trial still weigh heavily on my mind. But it's time to stop looking backward. Cosmo believed in me, and Mr. Sholmes believes in me now too. So it's time. Time that I learned to believe in myself. Soseki-san has no one. He's all alone. So it's my job to help him. To fight his corner. Tomorrow. In the courtroom. With all the strength I can muster. Looks like we're going to the courtroom. No investigation of the crime scene. I'm happy with that. Because, hell yeah, we're going to play the first part of the trial at the very least. See what the intro is like. This episode is not yet over. 20th of February, 9:23 a.m. The Old Bailey. Defendant's antechamber. We're, 37 minutes early. That's a good sign. Well, I never expected this. Who would have thought we'd be back here again so soon? Life of a lawyer. You better expect to see a courtroom often. Unless you're Phoenix Wright, of course, and you don't get clients for months. I don't know how he pays his bills, for goodness sake.
We're on a study tour of Great Britain. The intention of learning the country's legal practices. In order to research the latest court procedures here, we need as much court experience as possible.
Well, yes, I suppose that's true, but for the person in the dock, it may well be his or her one and only time in court. And it could be life-changing. In which case, treating it as research may be a little crass.
Oh, when you put it like that, you're quite right.
I know, it's certainly a trial by fire.
Good morning.
Oh, he's looking disheveled again. Did you get any sleep? Your eyes are red. Mr. Natsume,
good morning. Oh dear, are you alright? Your eyes are terribly bloodshot. The early bird catches the worm, as they say here in Britain.
Yes, I've heard that expression. What does it mean exactly? Are you a bird?
But I really don't want to catch a worm. So I tried desperately not to wake up early, but I was so worried I couldn't catch a wink. And now I'm absolutely exhausted as a result.
Oh dear. That's not going to do you any favors in court. Do all literary people take things so literally? Did he actually think he'd have to go hunt out a worm? I don't even think he can leave his cell.
Thank you for putting your faith in us today, Mr. Natsume. I wish I had 9 lives. My whole future hangs in the balance. I'm too terrified to tremble.
Really? Because I can feel tremors in the floor.
I can't do this. I can't take it. Although, locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire.
Yes?
I caught a glimpse of the public gallery as I walked by the courtroom. It looked like the opening night of the opera. There were so many people. I had no idea my case was such a notorious affair here in London.
Oh. Neither did I. Do you know why that might be, Mrs. Sato?
I'm sorry, Mr. Naruhodo, but I have no idea.
Maybe it's because the Reaper and the Bailey's back and everyone wants to show. So that all-knowing look on your face is just coincidence then, is it? She's just pretending this entire time.
Don't hide the truth from me! It's because of the Reaper, isn't it?
That's my suspicion. Lord Van Zieks? Is that right, Mr. Sato?
I purchased as many different newspapers as I could find this morning, and yes, Lord Van Zieks is on the front page of every one.
Why did you buy a bunch of newspapers for? I knew it.
Sometime after the prosecutor was dubbed the Reaper of the Bailey. He stopped appearing in court, it seems. It's been several years now, in fact, until the day before yesterday.
Yes, Inspector Gregson told us something similar, didn't he? And we were kind of upset that he made his first day back, our first trial on British soil. And we asked if he couldn't come back another day. The trial 2 days ago marked Lord Van Zieks' return to the courtroom after a very long hiatus. The trial of Magnus McGilded. Oh, what a harrowing experience that was.
I believe that appearance made even greater waves here in the capital than today's.
But we wouldn't have realized, of course, having only just arrived in the country.
Why is the Reaper back in the Bailey so soon? For what appears to be a mundane murder.
It's not even a murder. It's an attempted one.
That's the question the papers are asking. And they're all speculating various answers. Mundane! Mundane! It's the most significant saga of the century to some of us. Oh dear, I meant no offense, Mr. Natsume, but that is how the papers are describing it. Well, lest we also forget the fact that it could spark an international incident.
Oh, not another one.
Obviously, the reappearance of this infamous prosecutor has caught people's attention. But there's another blatant similarity with the trial of 2 days ago. Yes, I agree. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. It's you!
Me? Well, I suppose that's true.
Both times it is you who stands against this legendary prosecutor. It can only mean that you're friends with the Reaper!
Please! I don't rub shoulders with death bringers. I'm his enemy! I'm his opponent! What do you mean I'm his friend?
I'm afraid that there's really only one other explanation. It can only be another example, Mr. Naruhodo, of your uncommon bad luck.
Thanks for that. Did I get double bad luck because I entered Mr. Natsume's room the other day? Or yesterday, sorry?
Oh, this is just my luck. Why must I be represented by a man with such frail fortune?
Because, okay, you're one to talk.
By the least lucky lawyer alive.
Well, of all you've got. Well, let's not forget that it was you, Mr. Natsume, who asked me to represent you. Not to mention I haven't lost a case yet, so how cursed can I be? Yes, it's true that I'm just a student new to London with little in the way of experience or skills or luck, but I promise you this. I will fight your corner until the bitter end, and I will believe in you, Mr. Natsume.
Oh, benevolent locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire.
You really need to find a shorter way to address me.
You're not alone here with us, Mr. Natsume. Whatever happens, we'll always be on your side. Oh, benevolent non-locum assistant Miss Mikotoba Esquire S. I am in your debt forever. I shall never forget this great kindness for as long as I live.
Mr. Natsume, counsel for the defense. The court session is about to begin. Kindly make your way into the courtroom at once. Oh boy. Are you ready? Alright then, Mr. Natsume, it's time. Let's go.
Yes!
Here we go, time to meet the Reaper. And the jury. This is it. I'm guessing it's gonna be a different jury this time? My second appearance in a British courtroom. And my second trial against the Reaper. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. Because this time, I won't let my faith waver. I'll believe in my client to the last. Just like he believed in me. I believe I can do this now. I'm ready for this fight. 20th of February, 10 a.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. Hang on a second. Some of those jury members look familiar. Can we really call this impartial? I swear I saw Fair Play and Joan the Maid there, at the very least. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is fully prepared, my lord. The defense is ready, my lord. Never mind my continuously drifting eye contact. Meanwhile, Van Zieks just has his eyes closed. The Nipponese are a truly fascinating breed. Sorry, what? What? You want to breed us? Lord Strongheart has told me all about you. That you are a student who arrived in London but 2 days ago. A mere amateur. Do you have a point? Being a compatriot, you feel compelled to try to help the accused, I suppose. Typical Nipponese arrogance. Oh, and you're not arrogant yourself, Van Zieks, I see. Totally get you.
Forgive me, but I do not believe arrogance is an appropriate description.
Ooh, I love it. Step at him.
Sato-san. After all, at our previous encounter, the defendant was found to be innocent.
I'll drink to that. Very true. And a most fascinating, if dark, trial it was too. The tragic conclusion came later, of course. It's almost like he's proud to be the Reaper. Here's to the acquitted, and his unfortunate violent end. You see, like, even though he's got this supposed curse, and his attitude is the way it is, I don't feel like he's a bad guy, you know? He's like not an obviously evil person like Von Karma was, for instance. Well, next time you offer us a goblet of wine, at least make sure we have one of our own at our defense bench. Thank you, counsels. I see both sides are in fine fettle. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are you ready to carry out your duties here in court as impartial members of the public? You never know when you might be down on your luck, but I believe in fair play for everyone. He's the foreman.
Well, I must warn you, I'm rather ruthless than I appear. Oh well, not me. What you see is what you get. I'm a peace-loving fellow. I'm afraid to say I think it's quite possible that mustached foreigner did the deed.
She cannot be a jury member. She is literally involved in this case. The attempted murder took place right outside her freaking house. I know that, you know, there was a fire, so she couldn't conceivably be a witness, so there's that at the very least. Maybe the two witnesses are actually those two stooges we met after we were preparing to go to visit Natsume in prison. Come on, what are we waiting for? No doubt he did it anyway. Hey, sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Yes, it seems 5 out of the 6 jury members at least are understanding what's going on. Very well, let us proceed. Your opening statement, if you please, Lord Van Zieks. Very recently, Great Britain signed an alliance with the rising power in the Far East. The accused in the dock today is a student from that same land, a certain Mr. Soseki Natsume. And while our country has extended this foreign student the warmest of welcomes, regrettably, the kindness has not been returned. In fact, this student is accused of a most sinister act. Oh my, of plunging a knife into the back of an innocent woman who was doing nothing but walking down the street. A knife crime? I can tell you from bitter experience, those are the worst. Bloody oath they are.
Just look at that sallow complexion and short stature. He's one of those dreadful Japanese.
Come on, let's get this over with. With me now, everyone. 1, 2, 3. You kidding me? Sorry. Didn't quite catch that. Are we always destined to have a maid and an old person on the bench that is not paying attention to proceedings? Pray, forgive the discourtesy of smashing my hallowed chalice here in this great chamber. It is not the first, nor will it be the last. Allow me to call the first witness to the stand. Very well. Please, no more throwing alcohol around. There are literally flames everywhere. We've established that this place is dangerous. Someone died because they were set ablaze. They were cremated, for goodness sake. Bailiff, lead the inspector in, please. Oh, Inspector Gregson is first up. Oh, you're gonna eat on the witness stand, I see. Your name and occupation, please. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard. Would you please summarize the events of the case for the court, Inspector? The victim is thought to be a young woman in her 20s by the name of Olive Green. Olive Green. Perfect. I beg your pardon, Inspector. Thought to be... Yes, having been stabbed in the back by her attacker's knife, the victim fell unconscious, and so we've just decided to name her after the color of her coat. That was 3 days ago now, and she's been comatose ever since. What? So I don't even know who she is for sure? Comatose. I see. But her life is not in danger? Fortunately for the Eastern student, the charge will not be murder. Pray, elaborate on the details, Inspector. Sir, if I could ask everyone to look at this street map. It's a very simple layout. As I mentioned, the incident took place 3 days ago, at around 5 in the afternoon. It happened on the pavement running alongside Briar Road, a wide thoroughfare for horse-drawn vehicles. It had not long since stopped snowing as the victim, Miss Green, was walking down the street. Out of the blue, she was approached from behind by the accused and stabbed in the back. Okay. Luckily, the young lady's life was spared, and she's currently being treated in one of the city's hospitals. But being unconscious as she is, we've been unable to take a statement from her, of course. This is the case file with everything we know about the victim so far. Thank you, Inspector. The court will accept the documents as evidence, if you please. A file containing an overview of the case and details about the victim. She was found with a knife in her back and is currently in hospital, yet to regain consciousness. What of the weapon that was used? Sir, I have that here. It was removed from the victim's back. Ouch. That big thing is starting to make me scared to walk down the street now.
With a heavy blade like that, almost anybody would have been able to stab the poor woman.
The scragged-looking Soseki-san, I suppose. A common or garden jackknife, I would say. Rather nondescript. There's no insignia or initials detailing who owns this particular knife. Thank you, Inspector. The court accepts the blade as evidence. The jackknife. A large but commonplace folding knife. It was found lodged in the victim's back. Now then, what do we know of the motive? Money or valuables, I presume? From what we can tell by looking at the woman's possessions, it seems like she's a poor student herself. Hard to imagine she would have had anything much worth pinching, my lord. I see. Well, in that case, are we looking at some deep-seated resentment toward the victim because of the colorful name she has? I'm afraid I couldn't say. Apart from visiting second-hand bookshops, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, doesn't appear to get out much. At this moment in time, we haven't been able to establish any sort of connection between him and the victim.
Yes!
Yes, hooray! My turn, excuse me. If theft and grievance have been ruled out as the motive, what reason could Mr. Natsume possibly have had for the stabbing the young woman? Checkmate. Prosecution. I've already defended my client. Yet you arrested the man in spite of that? In a totally unjustified and heavy-handed way.
Objection!
Okay, well at least you didn't throw that toward me. Pray, forgive the discourtesy of flinging a freshly uncorked bottle into the public gallery. I will make sure it's filled to the brim next time. But your words have soured its hallowed bouquet. For it is you, my learned friend, who is being heavy-handed here. Heavy-handed? I'm not the one throwing things around the courtroom, okay? What? Scotland Yard does not arrest people without good cause. That should be beyond question. Inspector Gregson, the prosecution calls for your formal testimony. Explain to the court precisely why the constabulary came to arrest the Nipponese student. Yes, sir. Enlighten us, Inspector. Alright, what do we have? Mr. Natsume's arrest. As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred, and there was an unusually light fog. Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else about but the victim and the accused. And yet there were witnesses. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed on the pavement. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. There's been a number of old books he'd just bought. He was on his way home from a bookshop, it seems. It was just a matter of working out who the books belonged to, and we found the bloke to arrest him. I see. Old books, you say? Yes, my lord, I have a photograph here of the scene of the crime, taken immediately after the incident. Alright, we have seen this image before, although it was just as a description of the crime scene. Now we've got the actual photograph itself. Yes, I can clearly see the books to which you are referring. I will take that photographic print as evidence, please, Inspector. Crime scene photograph. A photograph of the scene taken by a policeman just after the incident occurred. A large knife can be seen thrust into the victim's back. You Nipponese are a spineless breed. Too cowardly to admit defeat. Speak for yourself. I'm pretty sure I won handily last night. Or 2 nights ago, actually. Denying everything, despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Well, even though there's evidence to the contrary, I still believe my client didn't do it, so naturally I'm going to defend him to the very end. Forgive me, Lord Van Zieks, but the defendant is not denying everything, as you put it. What are you doing, Mr. Sato? Are you trying to get us killed? That's the Reaper of the Bailey you're challenging. That's twice now you've challenged him. Do go on.
Mr. Natsume is admitted to playing some part in the incident. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodo?
Well, now you mention it. When we visited him in the prison yesterday, he did tell us what had all happened. He was there.
As I was walking down that accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman wearing a green overcoat she was. And just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed onto the cold, hard slabs of stone at my feet. I was terrified. I had to get away from there, so I ran as fast as my legs could carry me back to my accursed lodgings.
Green overcoat.
Well, that's exactly what the woman in the print is wearing. Oh my, a photographic print in full colour. What will the world come up with next? Moving pictures in a box.
Forget that! The defendant has done nothing more than admit he fled the scene of a terrifying incident! That does not mean that he's guilty of the heinous crime of stabbing the woman in the back. There was nobody else there at the time. Just the two of them, the victim and the accused. In other words, there is nobody else who could possibly have stabbed the woman.
How do you know there was nobody else? All you have is an unconscious woman and the culprit. You know? You can't just presume, oh, there was nobody else there. Who's going to testify to that? Your witnesses? If there are witnesses, then someone was there, wasn't there? A fact that the accused concedes.
Ugh. It seems this cross-examination could prove to be pivotal, counsel. Proceed, please.
Yes, my lord.
Nothing for it. Let's get this done. We've done this before, Ryunosuke. We'll do it again. We're lawyers, after all.